Hello and welcome to our daily market review and analysis. We are going to start with the Dow Jones Industrial 30 and look at the oil. That are regular charts we look at, and also then we are considering the Canadian pair today, and we'll, depending on the time, go over a couple of other pairs or specific charts that we are interested in, and we may have potential trade developing. So let's look at the Dow Jones Industrial. At the moment, the Dow Jones Industrial is still grinding up higher. Today, it gained some 60 odd points, but other than that, it is still moving higher, and we may well be either close to topping out, or maybe continue higher. We may find that this current wave we are in might actually extend, and instead of where I have marked wave 3, we may finish up, for example, wave 3 moving to the top here, but currently still within the trend channel, and therefore price action should continue higher, supporting the supporting the context that we are still within the trend channel, and therefore the trend is still up. RSI showing divergence but hasn't broken out completely there, for example, and the thing to note also sometimes is that the divergence can continue and the price can either slow down or sometimes even move sideways in order to correct, but in this particular case it is quite possible that we may be either ready for a small minor correction, but then we will probably have to adjust this trend line to possibly somewhere there, strictly speaking, because that is where we are connecting the spike low here for wave 2. What I will do though is actually make that one a little bit thinner and then plot another parallel line about there. So that one is connecting the same slope, but is connecting this spike high here and then alternative pivot over there. So any weakness on that one would suggest that there is a potential partial retracement coming, but then we will find a support on this rising trend line on the bottom. So sideways to up is what Dow Jones is indicating, and then the oil apparently gained quite a bit today. We're still in the uptrend and still in the process of forming this wave A. Just exactly how far we will go depends on the other market conditions, but it's possible that we may continue higher and maybe even test this falling red trend line. But if not, then some Fibonacci retracement level. So far we have already done 50%, and that either could be an end, or we may continue higher to possibly like 94.80 area, maybe 95, then do a retracement and then go for another final high to retest the trend line before correcting. So oil is continuing higher, so sideways to higher is what we think in the oil. And whilst we are considering these, we also need to remember that recently we've had a situation for quite a few days now, in fact more than few days, where the dollar index has been moving up quite strongly in a new uptrend for the last few weeks, and during the same time the equity has also been moving up. So there are occasions in the historical chart that we can compare and establish that there are times when the both equity and dollar index continue to move in the same direction, but in general terms they should move inverse relationship to each other, and a fairly close one at that. So not just a minor inverse, but close inverse, meaning almost 100% inverse. So it's almost like a mirror image, but sometimes these are distorted, and it appears that currently we're in a situation where that particular relationship is slightly out of sync or stretched. So let's look at the dollar index. So the dollar index is still, broadly speaking, in an uptrend, and what I've done to draw this uptrend line is to connect this low we had here, which is on 20th of February, and then subsequently more recently we've had on this 4-hour chart to give me the slope of the line, which I applied on the top, and is also picking up significant tops along the way. So we are, broadly speaking, in an uptrend. We are now bordering on just dropping out of the trend channel possibly, but I think this last wave here may well be an ending diagonal. So after the wave 4 here is we have this -1, -2, then we had -3, probably -4 almost done, and we should see another leg higher. So for example, this one is coming there, and this one is coming to here, like so, and we should move higher, but not significantly higher. And tomorrow is a triple witching, meaning that there are quarterly contracts coming to an end, also monthly contracts coming to an end, and there will be some weekly contracts coming to an end. So all those 3 series of contracts come to an end tomorrow, and therefore I expect market to be relatively volatile, but in some way we may find a situation where dollar index makes one final upthrust to culminate this 5-wave move to the upside, and then we should be ready to start coming down. And as I say, often Fridays and Mondays are the time when market often forms a week's high or a low, and currently for the dollar index that would mean high of the week being posted tomorrow sometime, and it would seem quite possible for that to happen. So dollar index is very close to topping out and is ready, and see on the bottom here is that we've had this supporting line around 50, gradually falling down, but just around 50, and now you can see the price action is entirely under 50. So if the dollar index makes another final drive high, RSI will probably not gain much traction above 50, and then when the price falls, RSI will fall with it. So from that perspective, I think we are in a very high probability level where dollar index could actually top out, even if that top would be simply meaning it's an intermediate top, and therefore we will only make a retracement and then continue higher. Even if that's the case, we should still expect possibly 38% or 50% retracement. So that would just, if you eyeball it, we're talking about 50% around 81.50 area somewhere, but most likely much lower down. So dollar index should be vulnerable tomorrow, I think, meaning that most of the other US dollar pair assets will begin to gain against the dollar, with exception of currencies like yen. So we were going to look at the Canadian pairs today, so let's start with that one first. The first one we're going to look at is the Euro CAD. Now we've been stoking trade for a Euro CAD, but it's been in such a whippy up and down, relatively tight range, so the trade hasn't triggered. But if you look at this pattern here, you can see that this one moved up quite strongly, and then we had this one. So it's almost like, it's slightly larger and distorted, but it's almost like a bull flag. In other words, we had a significant run to the upside, and now we've got basically a small sideways congestion like a bull flag with a view of breaking it to the upside. And we have come back within the proximity of this rising trend line connecting the low and this subsequent higher lows. So we've come fairly close within that, and if you look at it on a shorter term, this brown trend line I put in there, that has now failed, so we'll take that one off for the time being. So looking at this now, we've got horizontally an area where previously there was a significant resistance in that area, and now we've broken above. We should find that area as a potential support, plus this rising trend line on the daily chart. If you drop down to 4 hour if you drop down to 4 hour, then in some way it would appear that this is almost like wave A, B and C, and then possibly A, B, C to the upside. So then this one becomes potentially like an X wave, and then again we've got wave A, A, B, C up as a wave B, and we are now making this final leg down for wave C. And in the wave C, looking at it on a shorter time scale like a 4 hour, it is possible that we may be getting something like this here, like a kind of a falling wedge pattern. And if you look at it, it would drop down. So we're expecting a euro against the CAD, so euro to weaken a bit more to actually form a short trade. So if you get an opportunity of getting long around 132 or maybe fractionally higher 132.20, I think that would be a good area to enter long, rather not short, enter long. Good area to enter long. And in terms of the stop loss, initially I would suggest you start off with something like 100 or 80 stop loss, but stop loss has to be below this blue rising trend line. As long as the price remain above and it comes close to it and bounces up, that would be a good signal for going long. But you know, otherwise it is going to chop around sideways for a while. So you might not want to enter with a limit buy over here, but what you might say is that currently this is the high. So if the price took that one high up, then chances are it is now in an uptrend. So this minor trend line that I've just applied now, as you can see, as long as that one is holding, I'd say the trend to the downside is still intact, but the downside we are running out of room because it's getting narrower and narrower and narrower. So that would be because your a situation where this falling wedge would be the ending diagonal. So we've had the wave A, B, C back up as a wave X, and now we are seeing this A, B and C, with this one being potentially an ending diagonal. So if that happens, an ending diagonal, then I think from other charts that we have looked at yesterday and also going to consider today, you will see that that is most likely to complete tomorrow, with this one coming down here and forming the wave 4, with a view of then the market going up for a wave 5. So that's Euro CAD. Then we have Pound CAD. Now in a Pound CAD, on a 4-hour chart, this might not be exactly like a falling wedge, but it does have a very good look about it. If you look at it in a daily, then you can see that we have moved down, and it appears most likely that we moved down in a 5-wave possibly as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and that wave 5 I think could be nearly complete, or it will complete tomorrow. But if you look at this one, then I think this was wave 2, it's come down in wave 3, A, B and C to form leg 4, and then coming down we've probably got 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, and then over here we've possibly got 1, 2 and 3. This one coming back here is 4, and we should be settling for one more to complete this down cycle. And then after that, I suspect we are ready to move up. But if you just glance at it on a daily, and if you apply fibs on there, then currently we have come into the proximity of 78.6%, 78.6%. So that brings in around 151.75 as a potential long entry if we see a confirmation of that, either by means of a price action or price taking out trend lines or resistance or something like that. So currently price is bumping up against what we had resistance, and it may come down to finish off the final leg down. Ideally, see over here is we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, we're going to 5 wave down, ABC up, then we expect another 5 wave down. You go 1, 2, and then this one is wave 3. You go 1, 2, 3. Within the 3 you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you go 1, 2, all of this is a 3, ABC back up as a 4, and we should expect that one, even if everybody don't, and in all places they don't have that. However, is running into resistance, so we need another final leg down to give us this complete 5-wave pattern before we are ready to move up. And on this one we can't specifically do time analysis, but here to there is approximately 59 to 60 days. So if you look at it from low to potential low, we're coming into an area where 60 the current bar is 59. So if you 59, then we suggested this one is approximately 100. Okay, so if you put 100 from here, 100 to that way, that comes in that area there, about here somewhere. So that would be, like a May, June, before, what was I saying? You got this final leg down here. So we are looking at a potential 78.6 retracement. So that comes in around 51.90 area, and we are close to that. And then internally it looks like we got 1, 2, sorry, we got 1, A, B and C is a strange kind of a running flat. So wave 2, then this is 3, 4 and 5, and currently in the wave 5 we've got 1, A, B, C up as the wave 2, then this is all 3, so 1, 2, 3, currently 4, and we should come down 5 to finish it. So we could well find a potential bottom around 50 to 50 area approximately for the pound CAD. Okay, the next one we're looking at is the Aussie CAD. Now in the Aussie CAD is that if you look at it on a weekly chart, you see we have this rising trend line support holding. The moment it breaks out of that one, then horizontally we have a potential area of support around 99.30 area. So even if the Aussie CAD decline, we would expect it to decline to that 99 area at least, and maybe even slightly deeper retracement than that. If you look at it on a monthly chart, then you can see that we came up from the bottom somewhere and we had this significant high as wave A potentially. Then we got ABC, X, ABC. So that gives us wave A in parentheses. This is wave B quite clearly. It's not exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the sense that this one here is wave A, this is B, and we've got almost a mirror image of that, slightly distorted. So that again has an ABC to finish off with wave B, and then we should basically come to the downside. I have suggested another high, but I think that another high probably not going to happen, and we may actually get more like a degree of training over whatever is deemed as a reasonable period. By then we will be retracing on this one, possibly coming back to 50 area of the rise from the low, back in June 2008. So that would be around 93. We are looking at 93. Well, 94, and then the other side is approximately 89, 82. So if you count that to 90, approximately 90 at the bottom and 85 at the top, 99 at the top. So Aussie Canada, on a long term, we can see we have a potential like a rising wedge formation, and then this one was a zigzag wave. This, whatever that wave is, was a zigzag. We've had then a wave X, A, B, C to the downside to complete. We've got wave A in bracket. Next one is going to be wave B in bracket, but it is made up of A, B, C, and most likely we may have to change the last one. So we'll finish up with an X wave in that area. So we go A, B, C, wave X, and then it will probably continue higher. But before we get a wave X, there is still an upside on this market, and it will probably continue higher for a little bit longer before we expect this potential decline. Okay, so that was the Aussie Canada potential short, and it's actually at an area where it can be shorted. If you look at it on a daily chart, you can see it's come back right back into the area where previously there was resistance, and we've come into 88.6% retracement of the entire drop. And if you look at it in a daily, then we are looking for the final leg actually to complete, and it may well be that this final leg is already over. See, in a daily candle we have like a very long-legged candle with a tail on the upside, and quite possibly if we take out the low of that, so the low of that would be around here. That would be low around 1.056 area, I think. And let me just double check. So we had a high there, so we had a high here, and it would appear so far that there is nothing exciting or unusual, but we've basically had a small wave one down. If I drop down 15 minutes, then from here you can see that what we got is quite possibly we've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and we should be going down for wave 5. Okay, so that means there is a potential opportunity or potential vacancy that they need to fill. That would bring us to this area here. We will be looking at potentially this falling trend line. So there is still a small gap to fill. 88.6% retracement. If I just take you back on this here. Okay, so we've come right in the area of previous resistance, and there is the actual candlestick there on a daily, you can see is definitely like a long tailed, you might call that like a shooting star, or it's not quite a hammer but almost hammer looking. So there is potential for that one now to possibly break down if the uptrend is complete, and if this is the final rising wedge, then we probably got wave A, wave B, wave C in. Maybe we might come down here, maybe one more thrust up. So quite possibly it might not be yet ready, but we may do something like this, and in which case this trade could mature next week. You know, if we do a small retracement, another thrust up higher. If this is the final top, then it is possible that we may begin to come down quite strongly. So the idea would be is that if it takes out that yesterday's candle, and breaks down below the low of yesterday's candle, you can have your entry maybe in the region of 1.5780 area approximately, and you keep your stop just above a 40 or 50 pip above the current bar. So if the current bar closes where it is, then of course it makes it easier. Otherwise you have to put it over the top here above the this very large, relatively speaking, long-legged candle with a high wick candle on the top, about 100 pip. And then longer term we're expecting that to break down, come back to the support line, and if the support line don't hold, then of course there is a significant movement to come down to the area I just pointed out. So that's the Aussie CAD. Then we have New Zealand CAD, and the New Zealand CAD apparently done a double top on this daily here, and is come down, so it is not going to go up anymore, but we're basically expecting that one to drop now and drop relatively quickly. It is currently on its way down. If you look at a smaller time scale, then you've got possibly wave A, ABC back as wave B, and now we are commencing this wave C. Okay, so in that we may well have a small 1, small 2, small 3, small 4, and possibly forging out 5. And you can see also that it may be looking not quite, but may even be looking something like this. So like an ending diagonal. So wave A, ABC up, now we should be getting 5 wave to the downside. So maybe that one would be like ABC, back up, ABC, down, ABC, maybe another small back up, and then completing this folding wedge pattern, like so maybe. Then that would be like a ending diagonal, and on the completion we would then see it make another test higher, or if this is the beginning, because wave A, wave B, and this is wave C. So from that perspective we may then expect at least a retracement of the high before we find the market New Zealand CAD comes down, or we might simply go for partial retracement, and in which case this may be wave 1, ABC back up as a wave 2, and in the downward progression we've got a leading diagonal as a wave 1, and then 2, and then 3, or it might be A, B, and C. Okay, so if it comes to C is an ending diagonal, or this is A, this is B, and then this leading diagonal wave A, partial retracement wave B, and then another leg down. So both of those scenarios could play out, is that we continue straight up or make partial retracement, drop down to retest, then go up for either a new high or partial retracement of this current decline. But then longer term we are expecting that to fail and for it to come down at least to this rising trend line support. So that's the New Zealand CAD. And then the CAD yen, we looked at the yen pairs yesterday, and you can see that this one is making a final leg to complete this five wave cycle. So we've got -1, -2, -3, -4, and maybe a little bit more to go to complete this 5 wave, okay, before dropping down. So that's the CAD yen. So those are all the yen pairs, CAD pairs rather. Then you got the USD CAD, and the USD CAD so far looks like a leading diagonal. So in other words, we've made the high and then we've dropped, and it's not making a retest of the high at all. So it's quite possible that this one here may well be potentially like a falling wedge kind of pattern, but it's right at the top. So potentially you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, in which case this one is more or less ready to start going up. So that would complete the wave 4. So we'll put that one in there. that could be a small a, or it could be IV. Okay, for wave 4, and then it will go up there to make a final wave 5, and it would then fail, or not fail in the sense, but come back down, a much deeper correction than we've had so far, because along here we've only got this stretch and we've got this stretch which looks similar. This one is probably half the range of these other ones. Okay, so either we are forming the wave 4 bottom to go up, or this might be a leading diagonal, and if it's a leading diagonal we might expect much deeper or correction that lasts for longer period. If this is wave A down, then we get ABC retracement part of the way, then we have another drop down before we are actually ready to continue higher. So for the time being, it isn't an area where potential short can be initiated, but I think not right now. This one currently looks like a bull flag. Having risen sharply, it's gone into retracement to a gradual down, but otherwise within this narrow range here. Once that is complete, we do expect it to make, its room to the downside. But for current, we've got one, so we label this one as wave A in bracket, wave B in bracket, and we're now looking for wave C in bracket, and it should be like this, wave C in bracket. So if it's a wave C in bracket, then potentially we've got wave A in bracket, B in bracket, and C in bracket, where we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and let me just clarify these labels. That was there, and we need a wave 5, so I'll type that one in here. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this one actually is wrong. Okay, so we are probably in the process of completing this 5 wave, then final thrust up, and that would complete the 5 wave cycle, and we should then start coming down on US dollar CAD. We look at the US dollar pound. Then from yesterday's chart, I think we were looking for a low in this area, and based on the time symmetry, this particular time symmetry lining up for 17th. So that's like over the weekend. So on a daily chart, I suspect that we may decline part. We've got a bump, risen from the bottom here, made this run up, and it's quite possible that we might actually need someone to either take this. You can see it's ABCs, A, B, and C. Okay, so in this particular cycle, see, from the trend line purposes, we have completed a 5 wave. But I cannot be sure if that 5 wave is complete now, or whether we still need one final leg down. If you look at this last leg here, so this last leg there started off from here. Last leg started off from there, and then if you look at it from here, we go 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that will be 1, 2, and 3. ABC back up as a 4, and we should be coming down for wave 5. So from that perspective, I am expecting it to drop, and in terms of the like drop like that, I am expecting it to drop, but then more likely it will probably come back and retest this last low, or make a minor new lower low before we are ready to start going up. And based on this time symmetry, we do have a potential low in that area, which is 17th, and that's of the weekend. But I think either that or bottom already in. I'm still thinking that there is a room for dollar to move up, so the pound should make one final low. Then pound is ready for a proper bottom, which might finish up with like a double bottom. Okay, and then if you look at that in the pound pairs, you'll see, for example, currencies like pound New Zealand maybe already bottomed, and we've got the leading diagonal, like leading expanding diagonal. So it's the wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and potentially wave 5. On RSI, we don't have a clear divergence yet. On a 1 hour, if you do drop on 30 minutes, then we do, but really speaking, it would be better if you get a divergence of 1 hour. But at the moment, there is only a minor divergence potential here, not very much. So it would be helpful if, for example, we had a situation where it made a small retracement, like so, and then make another final leg up to complete before coming down. So we've got leading diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so that's wave 5, and for that 5th wave, we may have a little bit left over, i.e. come down, make another minor high, and then basically their initial training and everything they're looking at, with the final bottom here. And then if you see a longer term, we are expecting this pair to go up much higher. RSI is already broken out on the daily to the upside, and it's quite possible that we may even have a low here. This one very much looks like is a wave 1 or an A. Then this correction is a wave B, and now we are looking to go up in a wave C or a wave 3, and then this might be just your first wave up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. First wave up, small retracement, ABC retracement, like that kind of thing, possibly something like this maybe, and then it is ready for next move to the upside. Pound New Zealand, and then likewise you go pound Aussie, is very similar. It's not quite falling wedge, but it looks very much like a falling wedge. And again, that's ready for terminating. If it hasn't terminated or formed the bottom, probably will do tomorrow. And potential long trade could be entered, which I highlighted earlier, but now just to revise it, is that if you get an opportunity to enter long around 145.50 or lower, then is excellent, because you don't have to put such a large stop loss for the pair to move to the upside, and do so quite clearly. Because if we look at this part here so far, that's fairly strong leg to the downside. This one is not quite so much, so I think this is probably an ending. And then if you look at the RSI, is giving you clear divergence even on a daily chart, so it is ready for going long for that particular pair, pound Aussie. Quickly at euro, euro pound proved to be the triple head or a crown that I pointed out yesterday, broken below the trend line. So if you have not longed it yet, then basically you need to enter. As soon as we have partial retracement, you enter long or enter short with a stop above the high. Target to come back into this area of rising trend line support, and potentially from where we are, we're talking about good 400-500 pip, possibly in that region, maybe more. Okay. Then we were going to look at Okay, can't quite notice it. Finally, it's euro dollar here. On the daily, you can see we have come back into the area of 50% retracement of the entire move from the July low to February high. We've got this trend line coming in, potentially supporting, and this other one from the bottom, so they're all converging at the same place, in addition to, of course, the horizontal 50% retracement of the low to the high coming into that play as well. So several things taking place together, and we could well be forming a bottom, and then either we follow this one red route or the brown one. The red one is currently what I'm expecting as a minor starting from the low. Is we had wave A from the low, we had a wave A, and then wave B, C, D, E. So we could be over here, and we have potentially done wave A, B, and C, and that becomes wave X, and then we continue higher. So we've got potentially that pattern developing. So this is wave X, and we can form this next leg up to retest the high or make another minor higher high. On the other side, it could be that from the low, this could be W, X, sorry, from the low it could be A, B, and C, and then become X. So it's A, B, and C, then become X. So the entire cycle to here would be finished fairly soon, and we'll be about approximately there in terms of this schematic diagram of a possible wave pattern. So starting from there, then we'll see another A, B, and C. So we'll get double zigzag. Okay, so that double zigzag would take us some places, but if not, then we should expect a minor support, or well, an intermediate support, partial retracement, bounce back, and then have a second leg down. So that could also be a possibility. That's a euro dollar. So that is all I think I was going to cover on this occasion. Basically we got triple witching, we got potential low form in the euro and pound, and even some of the other cross currency pairs. So we may well be at the very early stage or starting a new trend that could last for a little while longer. Certainly if you look at the overall time it took for it to come down, if it's a partial retracement we have halfway or so, but if it is just normal replacement, then in that case this is just wave X, and we should then move higher quite strongly, so we could go maybe all the way retest high there. Okay, so that is all. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully something interesting in there that you like. So keep an eye on some of the Canadian pairs, or certainly more importantly to Great British Pound pairs, which might line up for a potential long or a short entry. But most likely if the pound has put a bottom in, then everything against the pound, or rather against the dollar, should be strengthening. So pound will be one, and it should start strengthening. Okay, so tomorrow, Friday, we will cover all the US dollar pairs. So in the meantime, I wish you well and successful trading, and look forward to you joining me tomorrow. I'll post this one out as usual. Any question or comment, please do feel free to let me know, or Skype or email, and I'll address them in my next session. Thank you.